Can you imagine that in 2026, the world's only superpower, America, will lose to a country it has been imposing sanctions on for the past 40 years? This is not me, but Professor Sane, whose two predictions about Trump have already come true and now awaits a third.
The United States will lose this war, which will forever change the global order.
This is not a trivial conspiracy theory, but the farcical prediction of game theory expert Professor Sane, which is now rapidly becoming a reality. If it proves true, the money in your bank account will become paper waste in the next 6 months and the world system may change forever. In this video, we will expose the secret script that the mainstream media is hiding from you. We will see how Iran's cheap $50,000 drones are destroying America's trillion-dollar pride. And above all, is Donald Trump, just for the sake of emergency war powers or his own extension, pushing the entire world towards a catastrophe that stems directly from the agenda of secret societies and the end times? In the next few minutes, you are going to see a side of the truth that the world may not even know. Welcome to Moon Facts TV. Viewers, Professor Sane's first prediction was that Donald Trump would win re-election, which turned out to be absolutely true. The second prediction was that as soon as Trump came to power, a terrible war would break out between the United States and Iran, and that too happened. But his third prediction, which blew everyone's minds, was that the world's largest superpower, the United States, would lose badly in this war. And this is not just a prediction, there are many logical arguments behind it. In today's video, we will do a complete post-mortem of this third and most dangerous prediction and understand how a military superpower can lose to Iran. Professor Sane, who is a great expert in game theory and geopolitical events, has made it completely clear in his new interview that America cannot win this war under any circumstances. Let's come straight to the point and understand where Iran stands at the moment. If we look at the professor's deep analysis, it is found that Iran has been preparing for this war not for the last 1 or 2 years but for the entire 20 years. In their Islamic regime, this is seen as a final war in which they consider America to be a great devil. Iran gained a lot of experience from the war that took place in June last year. At that time, they did not just attack, but also the strength of both America and Israel. They studied the weaknesses of their defense systems and their methods of attack in great depth. They had a full 8 months to fully prepare for this new attack, and during this time, they were only buying time by entering into dialogue with America. The biggest thing is that Iran is making the best use of its proxies instead of fighting directly. These proxies include Yemen's Houthis, Lebanon's Hezbollah, Palestine's Hamas, and various Shia militants in Iraq and Syria. All of them have read the US mentality and their way of fighting well. Now their strategy is not just to kill American soldiers, but their master strategy is to destroy the entire American empire and the global economy. Instead of directly confronting America, these people are targeting those countries that are the real power of America's economy, namely the GCC countries, which include Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, and Bahrain. You can guess how dangerous and well-planned this strategy of Iran is by the fact that they are not only dropping missiles on military bases, but are also targeting the critical energy infrastructure and water systems of these Arab countries. These Middle Eastern countries have no natural source of drinking water. They process and use salt water from the sea through desalination plants. More than 60% of the water in these countries comes from these desalination plants. Professor Sane gave a very scary example. If a small Iranian drone, which costs hardly $50,000, were to crash into a main water desalination plant in the city of Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and destroy it, then this city of 10 million people would run out of drinking water within just 2 weeks. Just imagine that in 2 weeks an entire city will start dying of thirst. At the same time, Iran has practically started blocking important sea routes like the Strait of Hormuz, from where 90% of the food and grain of these Arab countries comes. Generally, people think that this tension will only cause a little inflation or disrupt the global economy, but in fact, Iran is currently threatening to wipe out the existence of countries like Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Here it is also important for you to know that these Arab countries also act as a backbone for the US economy. The real reason for this is the petrodollar system. These Arab countries sell their oil to the world in dollars, which keeps the demand for dollars always high. Then these countries invest these dollars back in the US stock market and real estate. Today, the entire US economy and stock market are based on artificial intelligence. The heaviest investment in these AI data centers is by the Gulf states and Arab countries. If these Gulf states are unable to sell their oil due to this war, then obviously their economies will be destroyed and obviously they will stop investing further in the US AI system. The day this Arab investment stops, this false AI bubble of America will completely burst, and with it the entire American economy will come crashing down, which Professor Sain has called a financial Ponzi scheme in his own language. Now the question arises, why is the most advanced and powerful American army in the world not able to compete with these cheap drones? The real reason for this is that the entire structure and mindset of the American military is built on the era of World War II and the Cold War. During the Cold War era, the real competition was muscle flexing, who had the most expensive and complex technology. Who would go to the moon first and who would have the biggest missiles? America's entire air defense system is based on such expensive and complex technology, which costs billions of dollars to build and operate. In contrast, today's 21st century war has completely changed. This is the era of asymmetric warfare, where a very cheap weapon can destroy a very expensive system. Recently, a video from Israel has surprised defense experts around the world, where just one ordinary Iranian ballistic missile was coming towards the Earth, and to stop it in the air, the United States and Israel fired 11 separate interceptor missiles, but still they could not stop it. On the other hand, Iranian Shahed drones are made entirely in Iran and Russia, meaning they do not have to depend on any other country for their supply line. The Shahed 136 drone, also known as the JIANG'S, has proven to be a game-changer in modern warfare due to its simplicity and low cost. These drones have a two-stroke piston engine that can fly 2,000 kilometers at a cruising speed of 185 kilometers on just 100 liters of fuel. It is not too difficult to operate. It is sent by simply entering GPS coordinates. And because it flies very low, it has two advantages. One, it spreads fear wherever it passes, and the other is that it is very difficult to intercept due to its low flight. This drone, only 8 feet wide, can carry up to 40 kilograms of explosives. Stopping it with an expensive interceptor is like using a train to stop a car. U.S. The Defense Secretary and Joint Chiefs of Staff have told CNN that Iranian drones are causing a bigger problem than expected and are more difficult to stop than ballistic missiles. This is a huge financial disaster. On the one hand, a cheap Iranian drone or missile costs a few $1,000s, while the interceptor missile that the United States launches to shoot it down costs several $1 million. When you launch a $2 million missile to shoot down a $50,000 drone, you cannot afford this war for a long time. Now the US stock of these expensive missiles is rapidly decreasing, and they are also having to use their military reserves in Asia that they had saved for fear of China. This is actually a sign of the collapse of the arrogance of the United States, which has established its empire over the entire world for 20 years. If this trend continues like this, not only will the petrodollar be destroyed, but the world will also rapidly move towards a multipolar world. It will end, where America's influence on the world will be buried. Apart from all this, the US and Israel are still only carrying out airstrikes, but history is witness that no country in the world has been able to change the government of another country through airstrikes alone. For regime change, you have to deploy ground troops in any case. According to the statements of top US officials and the Secretary of War, the US has no intention of sending its ground troops to Iran at the moment. In the coming months, the US will come under intense pressure from Arab countries and Israel to send ground troops and wipe out the Iranian threat forever, because if something happens to these countries, America's petrodollar will also sink with them. Now the question arises, why did US President Donald Trump jump into a war that the top military command had already decided against? According to Professor Sain, there are 3 major reasons behind this foolish decision that forced Trump. The first reason is overconfidence. Trump recently conducted a small successful operation in Venezuela, which they have become overconfident about the capacity of the American military, just as Hitler, after easily conquering Europe, became arrogant and attacked the Soviet Union, which ultimately led to the destruction of his army. The second reason is political gain. Although the United States has no benefit from this war, Trump personally is getting both political and financial benefits. Saudi Arabia and Israel are indirectly lobbying for this war. Remember that Saudi Arabia has made a massive investment of $2 billion in the private equity fund of Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner. On the other hand, major Israeli financial backers such as Miriam Adelson are funding Trump's political career. Of course, according to the U.S. Constitution, the president cannot run for a third term, but Miriam has openly said that if Trump runs for a third term, she will give him $250 million. It is also possible that Donald Trump will get his term extended as a wartime president under the guise of war. The third reason is that if you study the old leaks and Epstein files of the world, you will understand that the system of this world is actually being run by some secret societies. The most famous of these is the Illuminati, which is further divided into three parts. On one side are the Jesuits who control the Vatican, on the other side are the Sabian Franks who have a hold on the power structure of modern Israel, and on the third side are the Freemasons who control the entire national security and military apparatus of America. These secret and powerful groups have a strong belief that in the end times, that is, in the last days, there will be a great war in the Middle East, and according to them, Israel must join it so that their heaven on earth can be established on earth. This is a pre-written spiritual script that these people are following in all circumstances, whether there is any logic in this action or not, and even if the entire world economy is destroyed because of it, they only have to follow their end-time plans. It is about the agenda. This was the third prediction of Professor Sane, which today, after the first two, seems to be on the way to coming true. The essence of all this is that America is fighting a war that, even if it wins by chance, will still be a huge defeat for America, just like what happened in Iraq, Libya, Syria, and Afghanistan. Attacking Iran would be like shooting yourself in the foot. What is your opinion on this? Do let us know in the comments section. And if you haven't subscribed to Moonfacts TV yet, do so now so that you can keep getting more in-depth information like this. See you in the next awesome video.